Hello and welcome to Argument Basics. This presentation is one of several parts, so make sure that you watch all parts so that you'll get the full presentation. We're going to talk about academic argument today. To do so, we really have to make sure that we understand what and how to write an argument. What is an argument and how do you write it? So first of all, an argument isn't like a conversation with a friend where you get into a debate um, over something that's heated and you end up stomping away from them, right? So an argument is actually an academic argument is one that is well thought out, well planned, supported with evidence, very structurally, logically created so that the reader can easily understand where you started, where you're going, and how you're finishing, and why you wrote what you wrote. So let's have a look here. We're going to present a strong thesis statement supporting evidence and conclude in a way that elicits a feeling that something should be done. So the other side, just so you know before you ever get started, may never be swayed to your point of view. Therefore, your task is to simply hear them say, good points. And that is good. That means that you've actually supported your thesis in a way that even the people who are hostile, which we'll talk about momentarily, will at least see that you supported your points well. The very most important thing before you ever write is first to choose a topic that's debatable. And it's also to know thy audience. So as you're doing your planning phase or your pre-writing phase for your essay, make sure that you know who your audience is going to be. Technically, in a classroom, it may be your instructor, but you really need to pretend that you're speaking to a much broader audience so that you can write effectively. If you write just only for your teacher, it really isn't going to be as effective as it could be if you're really trying to convince someone in maybe your field of study or a general audience or the entire classroom, whatever your audience is, know who that is. So there's not just one type of audience. You heard me say hostile, and the hostile folks are the people who, no matter what, they're just not going to budge on an issue. So you might think in terms of people who are pro-choice or pro-life, that debate. So most of those people are going to stay on the side that they're at. There's also a supportive audience. That's one that you really don't need to think about convincing because they're already on your side. And lastly is wavering. Those are the folks who you're really wanting to concentrate on because you want them to get off that fence that's in the middle of the issue and come over to your side. There are three types of basic appeals, and you hear about these all the time. But I don't feel like some of the texts and some of the lectures out there are really telling you the way that I feel like this presentation tells you how things are sort of interconnected. So logos is the appeal to logic, and that is where you're presenting your facts and your information to support your entire argument paper. Now you hear logos, ethos, and pathos spoken about as if they're equals, but in my mind they're really not. Logos is the primary way of handling the argument. But ethos and pathos are important. It's just that they really should only be used in support. They support the logic. So you want to begin with that logical piece, and then you want to incorporate the ethics or credentials, meaning perhaps you've got someone who you're using a quote from them that will support the ethics of a certain population that you're writing for, or perhaps those credentials are very respected, and that's important to the audience. That is all in support of the logic of your essay. And then pathos is appeal to emotion, and you might see this in a commercial. You might see an appeal to emotion when a commercial on animal abuse is on and they're asking for donations. But if you really pay close attention to those two have used logos. So they'll provide the information such as statistics, some hard facts, to appeal to an audience to support what they're saying. And then of course they have the emotional appeal through the music and such as that. And they also have ethos. If you look at one of the commercials out there has someone who, you know, really believes in taking care of these animals, and she's acting as a spokesperson for this commercial. So remember that logos should be primary. Ethos and pathos are both important in certain types of arguments, depending on how you're wanting to handle your argument, but always make sure that the logic is there. Logic is primary, as I said before, and this can be done in a couple ways. You can take a general idea and go specific on it, or you can take a specific to general idea. And this entire discussion of logic will be in a different presentation, so I'm not going to dwell on this. But just know that both are used regularly, and depending on how you're wanting to present your argument, you might use either one of these. Whether intentional or unintentional, fallacies are something that should be avoided because they harm a writer's credibility. We're going to look at a few of those. Faulty sampling is one. It's unfair or unrepresentative sampling to draw a conclusion, such as when you're doing a survey. So if you had unfairly chosen participants in that survey and then drawn a conclusion from that, that is faulty sampling. Ad hominem is an attack on a person or group of people rather than a specific statement or policy, such as if I attacked a politician rather than his specific policy. Overgeneralization is connected to that faulty sampling. It implies that most or all of a group believes or feels a certain thing, and of course it doesn't have to be based on a survey, but if you think about it, if your survey was faulty, you really can't draw conclusions from that. And one of the clues that someone's overgeneralizing is that they use every one. It's something that should be avoided in writing. Another fallacy that you might come across is limiting options to this or that. So the either or fallacy. And this is pretty common. It's offering this solution or that solution rather than acknowledging that there are many solutions, many options. So keep that in mind as you're going through your research. Also, don't overlook stereotyping. While many people don't acknowledge stereotyping as an actual fallacy, it really is. So make sure that you're not assuming something about someone just because he or she's a part of a certain group. So keep your eyes out for that one as well. Another common one is red herring. While discussing one topic, the writer introduces another unrelated topic. So you might be talking about insurance and then talk about how a candidate for office is unethical. So they're really two unrelated topics trying to, I call it misdirection. So you're really supposed to be focusing on this one, but then you sort of diverge into a different topic. The democratic fallacy. So just because the majority of people think one way, it does not mean that everyone does. So keep that in mind as you're doing your research as well, and just watch your wording and how you're saying things. I provided these two links because they're really good information on fallacies. The general information link will take you to Purdue OWL. They have great sources there, a whole list. I just gave you a few of the common ones because the video is only about 10 minutes. The video examples are particularly helpful because it's two presidential candidates, and they give speeches, and in the speeches, the fallacies are identified, so it's extremely interesting. I hope that you'll check those out. The argument structure, let's have a look at that as well. So really quickly, an introduction is typically 1 to 2 paragraphs. It could include a hook to draw the reader, and should, so that you can draw the reader into your information. It includes background and definition information to help the reader as well, and to understand the claim or argument that you're making, and a thesis statement. The body of your argument points, the length can vary, of course, and most instructors require a certain length. This is where your subclaims will be that are in support of your main claim. The counter argument is simply acknowledging that there's two sides to your issue, which is really important when you're making an argument. Helps you connect with those people on the fence and builds your credibility. The conclusion can be 1 to 2 paragraphs. It restates your thesis and your supporting points. It also does something important by explaining the importance of the topic to the readers. And in an argument essay, it's very important that you talk about the desire for change. So it calls for some change or action to be taken to solve an issue, and how to begin that change. So I hope that you've enjoyed this first video of argument. Please keep your eyes open for more, and I'll do my best to provide the links down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.